Hello friends! I am excited to show you how to contribute examples to the Remix repo so that we can make examples and make it easier for people to use Remix. And so yeah, that's what this video is going to be about. If that's what you're here for, then you're in the right place. Let me just share my screen. So here we are. I am in the Remix GitHub repository in the examples directory. That's where we're at here. So basically the idea here is we want to make it as easy as possible for people to get up and going with Remix. And often when we're coming to Remix, we already have use cases and ideas of things that we want to build, and we just want to see how you approach building those things with Remix. Maybe we're evaluating whether Remix is going to satisfy our use cases, or maybe we have a use case where we've been using Remix for a while, but we've just never run into this particular use case before. We want to see how people approach doing that. Or maybe we want to integrate with another thing, or maybe we just want to see what a real app looks like with Remix. Now that last use case may be better for you to just create your own repo, and then maybe we can link to it with something like remix.guide, which is an unofficial but really awesome resource for examples and packages and tutorials, lots of really cool things. So if you haven't been to Remix Guide yet, super cool, and you can contribute your own links to different things. Yeah, that's another thing. So like if you wanted to be like, hey, here's an example of a full-fledged app with these services and whatever, then Remix Guide may be a better place for you to, like you'd put your repo in your own account and then use Remix Guide to link to that or something. So the examples is mostly for smaller, focused examples of how to integrate with a specific service, like with one specific service, how to do one specific thing, how to satisfy one specific use case. And we want to try and avoid combining a bunch of use cases in a single example, because then they can distract from one another. Unless there's something specifically constructive about combining those use cases. So what we have so far in the Remix examples directory is we have a basic example, the blog tutorial, the jokes tutorial is in here, and then a couple other examples of things that I have built or other people have contributed as well. We do have one app in here that's built by chance on the Remix team, and so we do have like, here's what an app would look like with authentication and a Postgres database and stuff. And so that's a little bit bigger, but like I said, most things should be pretty small. So yeah, just today I wrote out this contributing guidelines, kind of talking about the things that I just said. We want to avoid using a database unless that's what the example is, like how to connect to a Postgres database or something. If that's what your example is, then yeah, sure, database would be fine. Or how to use Prisma. That would be a perfect example somebody could build. You could use SQLite or Mongo or whatever. That would make sense for that type of an example to have a database. But most examples probably aren't going to need a database. Like a function that you call is just fine. Yeah, unless you're showing what routing looks like or something, then having more than one or two routes is probably unnecessary. Yeah, only necessary depths. You don't need to add Zod or something to every single example. We can have an example of how to use Remix with Zod, and then the rest of them can just be as minimal as possible. It's just we really want to avoid distractions when we've got these examples. We want to focus on the thing that we're trying to illustrate. Our examples should also use TypeScript, because TypeScript is the best, it's awesome, and if people aren't using TypeScript, then they should be able to filter out the non-TypeScript stuff just fine. But the TypeScript is typically the safer and also the safer thing to use, and also the harder thing to add if you don't see it. And so it's easier to, or it's more useful for us to use TypeScript and show what the example looks like with TypeScript, and then the non-TypeScript folks can just pull that out if they don't need it. We want to be as practical as reasonable, so we want to balance that with focus. So we want to focus on something, but we don't want to do foo-bar stuff. Actually, a good example of this one is the outlet form re-render, which was contributed by Girish, and he did a great job of saying, hey, like we do have a couple of routes here, and we're going to call these users and whatever. So another thing is each one of these is going to have a code sandbox link. So provided that you're not using like Mongo or Postgres or something, if you're using SQLite, then you can actually use Code Sandbox. And so the Jokes app will run in Code Sandbox. And so, yeah, you just use Code Sandbox for like a preview. And so people can get things up and running and just see what it's like. Code Sandbox isn't like really amazing because it is actually a little bit slow on some of this, but it ends up working out pretty well for people to at least play around with it a little bit and see what the app looks like and that sort of thing. So yeah, anyway, those are the principles that we're going after here. So to create an example, the first thing that you're going to need to do is clone the repository. So that's what we're going to start with. So you go to the remix run/remix repository. You get the URL there. So let's do that. Open up your terminal. I'll just do this in my desktop. Make it bigger for you. And we'll git clone that. And so we're going to clone this into the remix directory. I think I already got it here. Did I already? Hold on a second. I think I accidentally pasted something. Okay, yeah, there we go. So yeah, we cd into the remix repo that we just cloned. And then we're using yarn workspaces. And so you'll run yarn to get everything installed. You may not actually need to do this. You should actually be okay if you don't install all the dependencies. Your editor integration with ESLint may complain about that, and maybe even prettier or something. So that's why I would say probably install the dependencies, but you might be able to get away with not having to do that. So yeah, C is just an alias to code dot. So I'm opening up this repository in my editor. Whatever your editor is, just get it open, and then you'll find all the examples in the examples directory. So then, once you have everything there, we're going to take this template and make a copy of it in the examples directory. So now I've got 2 copies of template. You can do the copy paste. What I did just there was I click and drag and then hold down Option and then held it over examples, and that made a copy for me. Okay, and then we're gonna rename it to something. I'm not actually gonna commit this because I don't want this, again, it's the focus thing. I don't want us to get distracted by whatever example we're creating. So this is just going to be throw away example. Or here, let's do catch boundary. That's an example we can make really easily. So we're going to make an example of a catch boundary. Maybe I will actually do this one. So now we've got the README. So we make a copy. We give it a proper title. We go to the README and we update all the to-dos. So this is going to be catch boundary example, and let's say that you want to make so here's where you describe the use case. So if you want to handle expected errors, you use a catch boundary to catch those types of errors. Think about 400 level or HTTP 400 level errors like unauthorized, etc. Okay, so those are the type of errors we're going to catch. Here's our preview. We've got a to-do on this. This is the open code sandbox thing, and we want this. Here, let me bump that up a little bit. We want this to not be the template anymore. This is the catch boundary example. So we'll say catch boundary. And so now that will link Code Sandbox to the right directory in our repo. And then here we have our example. So we're going to describe, and I'm going to do wrap here. We're describe how describe the example itself and how it demonstrates solving the problem. Probably should do a to-do right there, so I'll fix that. And then also we have a to-do for related links. So we'll get both of those once we're done with the example, because they kind of we kind of need to know what the example is to be able to do this. Okay, cool. So next, let's cd into this example directory and examples catch boundary, and we'll npm install. So like at the root of the project, we're using yarn to install dependencies, and that's just because we're using yarn workspaces. In all of our examples, we use npm. That's the default. That's what everybody has installed. When you install Node, it comes with npm. So we use npm for our examples so that people have an easy time getting the examples up and running. Okay, cool. So now that we have dependencies installed, we do have a package.json that lists out the scripts that we have and stuff. We're just using the remix serve script for our start, and then we have remix dev. So let's run npm run dev. And that gets us up and running in 180 milliseconds. Man, one of these days, we're going to have a new group of engineers entering the web development space who aren't used to builds taking longer than 180 milliseconds. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we'll go to localhost 3000. Nothing here. This is exactly what we want. We only want to add the things that are 100% necessary for the example that we're building. Okay. So we're doing a catch boundary. We can do that in our root. We don't need to have a, oh yes, ESLint problems. ESLint, you're driving me crazy here. There we go. ESLint, my goodness, it is so annoying. We're going to just manage this extension and disable. I think something weird happened with my ESLint install. So yeah, reload required. Let's do that. Okay. Whoops, that is not what I meant to do. Examples. What was it called? Catch boundary. Yeah, I was afraid of that. I just reloaded it, and now I've lost my, now I've got a rogue port running on port 8002. So I've got this script called kill port 8002, and now that should work for us. There we go. Okay. It's kind of annoying. Okay, great. So we're here, and I think we don't need any routes for this necessarily, though it might be useful to have routes because we can show that the catch boundary is contextual. And so I think we're going to add routes for this one. We do have an outlet already, so I don't think we need to touch the root here. Let's just go and add a routes, and we'll have an index yeah. In fact, this could be very similar to our outlet form render, re-render component, or example. So let's do our index right here. I'm going to actually, you know what? Let's just do this. We'll copy this over here, delete this. And now this is going to complain because we don't have a data.server file. I am okay with that, with this thing. Yeah, data. I actually am going to change this slightly, but we are going to keep this data.server thing, and we're going to have this export function. Let's make this a function. Get users. So this is kind of like, hey, let's pretend we have a database. And here, actually, let's do this. Put it right there. Get rid of that export. And we'll return users. And you know what we'll do? I think, well, yeah, that's fine. Except I don't like interfaces. I'm going to do type. Am I terrible for that? Hopefully not. Okay, cool. So now we've got get users. So we'll go into our users here. This would be get users from our data server. We'll say get users. Here, and actually let's just do this. Const users. Get users. Hooray. All right, sweet. And then we'll come down here. Get users. Okay, sweet. So next, if we look at this here, we're going to get redirected to /users, and we can choose these different ones. Now, this is stuff that we actually don't need in our example. There's like all this form stuff and whatever. So let's remove some of that because we want to just reduce as much unnecessary stuff as possible. And again, I kind of prefer types. So I actually don't care if you want to make an example that uses interfaces, that's fine. We do not have a hard and fast rule on that. I also prefer using this over the array shorthand syntax. I don't really care. That part doesn't matter to me as much. Okay, so let me see. There was something else I was going to do here. Yeah, here we go. We've got our throw JSON right here. So this is what this is the part that's actually important. We're going to get rid of all this stuff. And we'll just say div, let's see, user.name. Hi there, username. There we go. And then we've got our catch boundary right there. User not found. So honestly, we could probably go back to the other one. That's what we should do. Let's go back to the other one and get rid of the catch boundary stuff. I think it's not worth taking it out, but if I were to build that one over again, I think I probably wouldn't have included it. So that we just really want to focus, like, can we focus on just what we're trying to teach with this example? So I'm going to leave it in the other one, but I think there's an argument to be had for not including it at all. Okay, sweet. So we've got our user not found in here. This is also important. So we're going to add a comment in here when the throw or the response is thrown for a missing user. The data will be null. It actually might be undefined. So let's double check that. I can't remember whether it's undefined or null. So we'll be specific. So let me add a console log there for now. And then the other thing is we need to have a mechanism for making it possible for people to enter this state. So like a button to say, go to a user that doesn't exist. Let's also say in here, I'm going to change this to a named function. And we'll say export a catch boundary and use the use catch hook to handle thrown responses like the 404 we have in our loader. You can also catch error or thrown responses from actions as well. Okay, cool. Let's get rid of unused imports and come back over to our users here. And we'll have all of these links, and then we'll have a link at the bottom to, something funny, ducky. And ducky, I do not exist. Okay, sweet. So coming back over here, I do not exist. So we can click on each one of these, and then we go to ducky, and we get this error. So that is unexpected, actually. Let's find out what happened. I must have missed something simple. It probably has to do with this right here. So, excuse me. Yeah, so it looks like the data is not what I expected it to be. Here, let's do a refresh here. Oh, that's interesting. It could have been just a bad state. No, there's something weird there. I'll have to figure that out. Hold on a second. Oh, interesting. Data is catch value. Oh, right. Okay, I suppose that makes sense. Today I learned. I didn't realize that the data could be the response. I will double check on that because that is not what I would expect. But we'll double check on that. So in that case, we will handle that here by saying if there's not data or there's not data user. When the response is thrown for a missing user, the data will be the thrown response. I'm not sure that's not a bug. We may have to double check that because that seems unexpected. But it's possible that's what it is. So we'll see. And if that is the case, then we will say we won't say or null. We'll say or the response or whatever in here as our type. So I'll come back and fix this. Okay, cool. So we refresh, we get a 404 not found. That's nice, right? You get an actual status code. So the browser behaves differently when that happens and stuff. That's good. And we say user not found. Sweet. Okay, and actually another thing that might be useful for people is to know how to get the params. So let's say params equals use params. This is going to come from remix. And user with ID, params.id, not found. With ID not found. Huh. Oh, right, user ID. And let's put that in quotes to make it more clear. There we go. User with ID Ducky, not found. Okay, and then let's add a comment. Actually, let's wrap both of these in curly braces. If we don't handle this, then all bets are off. Just throw an error and let the nearest error boundary cat handle this. Okay, and actually we may as well export or remix error boundary. There we go. This will handle unexpected errors like if the catch boundary gets a response it's not prepared to handle. Like the above case, or the default case above, where, yeah. Okay. Okay, sweet. So let's see. Yeah, this is the other thing. When there's an error throw, or an expected error, like no found user, throw a response. JSON is a helper function. You could do this as well. Whoop. Actually, you know what? We don't need to teach JSON right here. This is just new response. Not found. Yep, that'll do the same thing. Okay, cool. Sweet. So now that we've gotten the example running and we're happy about that, we're going to update the example docs here. By the way, I do see there are questions in the live chat and stuff. I'm trying to keep this video really focused because I'm going to send this to people to like create examples and stuff. So I'm not going to answer questions that are not related to creating examples today. Feel free to come to my office hours sometime if you want to ask these questions, or come to the Discord and stuff. Okay, so in this example, we have a list of users and one user that does not exist. When you click, navigate to the user that does not exist, our catch boundary renders here, let's wrap, renders in place of the default or the component for that route. Okay, cool. And here we want to also, let's see. Yeah, so this was one thing that I liked about Gira. She actually referenced specific files within the README that are like, here's the file that you want to look at. So we're going to do the same thing. Check user ID tx. Yeah. Yeah, to see the catch boundary in action. Sweet. Okay, and documentation. Let's go to the docs, remix, run, docs, and let's look for catch boundary. It looks good to me. Okay. Catch boundary in the remix docs. Okay, cool. I think we're set. So that is it. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is, probably should have done this from the very start, but we're going to create a branch to make this PR. So get branch, and we're going to call it Kent catch boundary example. I don't know how to make new branches. The way I do it, I have an alias for it. Oh, huh, yeah. There's probably a way, or check out. Yeah, I have an alias for all this stuff, so I don't know how to do get normal. Can't. And also, since getting my new computer, my tab completion for get doesn't work anymore, and that's super annoying. And I haven't taken the time to fix it. Why is that? Okay, a branch, it already exists, but I can't check out that branch. What? Okay. I do know how to delete the branch, so let's start this over. Oh, wait, I missed it. Misspelled catch. There we go. Autocomplete. I need it. I need it desperately. Okay, great. So now we've got this. Let's go up a few directories, make sure we've got what we think. Let's git add all the things, look at status, and we have all the files that we want to have. Our README is up to date, so we should be solid. Let's git commit, and this is going to be a docs with an example, and we're add the catch, or add an example of using catch boundaries. Okay, cool. So with that now, I'm going to push this. Now, actually, I should have showed you earlier because I happen to have access to this repo, write access. So I can push. You would have to do the whole forking thing. I didn't show that at the beginning. So make sure you fork first, and then you can go through all of this. Yeah, rigmarole to make the PR. So yeah, you fork, and then you push to your fork. And then when you go to the remix repo, it will show you, hey, you've got a new branch you just pushed to your fork. You can create a pull request. So here we're going to create this pull request. And we'll say this, just describe your thing. Creating a useful example. Thanks a ton. Remix rocks. And you could always do a GIF too, if you want to. I appreciate GIFs. But then, yeah, as always, it's useful to look through, make sure that you've got your the code that you were expecting to be in here, no private keys or anything like that. And from what I can see, we're in a good spot. So let's create this pull request, and then I will be notified, everybody who's watching will be able to see this and will know, oh, okay, so something's going on. The Remix CLA bot will check to make sure that you've already signed the CLA. If you have not, then I will show you what that looks like, actually. Come down, find one of these that doesn't say CLI signed. And the bot will leave you this comment that says, welcome, thank you, you're awesome. Please add your name to the contributors YAML. You open that up and it actually will open you right to that file. You just hit edit, add your name, somewhere alphabetically is best. And then we can, the bot will actually fix it later if you don't do it perfectly alphabetically, but better to put it sort of alphabetically. And once you do that and save that, then the bot will run again and just check, and it'll say you're good. And then we can merge it. And we get a thumbs up from somebody. So I'll go ahead and merge this example. Oh, and one other thing. When you're contributing to Remix core, like a feature or a bug fix or something like that, you're going to want your PR to go to the dev branch, because that's where we're doing active development. Main is where the published stuff is. If your example is a feature that hasn't been released yet, then that would also go in the dev branch. But if it's something that works today and is useful for people today and doesn't need a release or anything like that, then you want your PR to go to the main branch. So just something to keep in mind. Most of the time, docs and examples and stuff will go straight into the main branch. So as the creator, oh, sweet, and Michal just approved the PR. So we are good. I'm going to go ahead and confirm squash and merge. And now this is part of our examples, and people can go to the remix examples and go to couch boundary. Sweet. And then they can open it on Code Sandbox and they can see, oh, look, let me take a look at this. Oh, and that's how you do catch boundaries in a real thing. That's awesome. I love this, and whatever. So hopefully that is helpful. I appreciate you taking the time to watch, and I hope that you take some time to create your own examples. There are so many examples, and I'll probably make a list or some issues or something of possible examples that you could create if you just want to spend some time making examples. But basically, every feature that we've got could potentially use an example of some kind. So yeah, examples are welcome. Please make them. Also, integrations with other services, that is those are really needed. Either other services or other libraries, especially if there's something weird you have to do to make things work together nicely or something. Those types of examples are desperately needed. And especially if you like work at a company that wants to integrate or something like that, then yeah, that's the sort of thing that we really need help with. So because like if you are really familiar with SendGrid, for example, then you're probably better suited to make that example than me, because I've never used SendGrid. So that's it. Thanks, everybody. I'm just going to double check that there aren't any questions about making examples before I wrap things up. And then I'm going to wrap things up so that this video is not too long. And it's focused like we want our examples to be. So, yeah. So I'll just bring this over. The template has a sandbox button. Shall we create the sandbox and link to it, or will it be added with a pull request? Yeah, great question. I think I may have answered that for you, Johnson, and just the way that it works. So the sandbox link is a special code sandbox link that says, hey, code sandbox, go to GitHub to this repository, to this specific directory in the repository, and pull that for the code sandbox. And that's how that works. So it's really nice. You don't have to actually open up the code sandbox ever yourself. And it's mostly just there for people who want to like just play around with it without actually pulling it down. That's really what that's for. Okay, sweet. Think we've got a couple other unrelated. Yep, thank you. Yeah, that's the way I used to do it before I had. That's probably what my alias does, actually. Thanks. Okay, sweet. Thanks a ton. This is fun. And I hope to see all of your really awesome examples soon. And I would appreciate you taking the time to make our community better. And yeah, we'll see you all in the future. Bye.